check. 1, 2. Hi, I'm Jackie, and I'm addicted to Survivor.
Hi, I'm Molly, and I'm addicted to Survivor.
And now the latest scourge on television, reality TV.
So I take it you're like happy sad about this week.
You know, it was going to happen eventually. Going into it, you really can't. It's like the car curse. You can't see someone, accomplish what happened last week with the shot in the dark. 11 votes against him. Accounting wise, it didn't make sense, but I don't think anybody's picked up on that yet.
I feel like Emily has to have, though, because I think they're going to reveal that she knew later on.
Right, but you can't see somebody escape that kind of demise and then continue on. So, yeah. But I am glad that he's now the mayor of Ponderosa.
Mm-hmm.
So he is going to be the hospitality giver for everybody else that comes in.
I have a big theory about that too.
What?
Okay, so my pick for winner has been Jake a lot of the weeks, and I don't want to spoil it, but it still is this week. And it's because of the editing. And one of the things that stuck out to me huge on my rewatch just now was there is a point in the middle of the episode, near the end of the episode actually, where Caleb is making some speech about loyalty, and they keep showing Jake just doing shit around camp while Caleb is giving this speech. So what I think is going to happen is I think that Caleb is going to be like mayor of Jurytown, like you said, and he is going to like really, really like be Jake's champion to the point where Caleb is the one that wins the game for Jake, basically, by talking to the jury.
That's a good theory. I mean, it makes sense, but we go into this episode. 6 Reba, 5 Bello, 2 Lulu.
Yes.
So we're still a little bit mixed up. And so Austin's idol is now valid.
Yes, which at this point no one has picked up on, as far as we know.
Unless Drew knows.
Correct. Who didn't get much attention this week? Weirdly.
You can only show so much Napoleon Dynamite, for God's sake. Seriously.
He is annoying. Like, now that Sifu's gone, like, he's number one on annoying list.
So in the beginning, you still got your Bruce and Keturah scuff up.
Yes.
And there was discussion, 2 separate confessionals that they had, which, okay, so she comes up with the fact that he's the thorn in her thumb. Who says that?
I don't know.
And then he comes up with the comment that he's not going to hold any punches.
That one honestly killed me. Like, what does that even mean, bud?
I don't know where these people went to school or who they hung out with, but that's not how you talk. Sorry.
I was thinking about Keturah's edit and how Bruce focused it seems to be, and I wonder if she's kind of upset about that.
I don't know, but nobody trusts Bruce.
No,
but like, they're keeping him as a shield,
and it honestly seems so early in the game still to keep people for shield reasons. That just seems like lazy gameplay.
It is, but the whole
like
season has been lazy, and a lot of the podcasts that I've listened to, they're like, this is the best season of the new era. Like, no, it's not.
No. You know who Caleb reminds me of a little bit? And do you remember Michaela from a few seasons ago? She was on one season and got out kind of early, but then came back immediately the next season after. Like she played really hard, really fast too. And I think they both met the same demise in their first seasons, because I know Caleb will be back.
Oh, I'm sure he'll be back. He even said on his exit interview that, he wants to come back. So
Good. We want him back.
and towards the beginning of this episode, Emily comes up with, "Well, I resigned myself to let Caleb go." Dude, it's not Titanic, you moron.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So highlighting that confessional with my theory, that would that makes me think the editors are setting up an Emily and Jake final two, with Caleb
Oh,
being the one that
stop.
convinces. I'm just saying.
Ugh. And then Bruce and Caleb have their little tete-a-tete where Bruce is like, "Well, let me tell you, kid."
Bruce always sounds so condescending.
I know. And then Caleb comes up with, "Well, I don't know how I made it 28 years without Bruce telling me what to do."
I was laughing so hard the first time I watched.
It's incredibly annoying.
I cannot wait for Bruce to go. I cannot wait.
And I bet he's fun to be around.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's a great person to go get a drink with, but he's not fun to watch play Survivor, because he's not
No.
himself. He doesn't feel like himself. He feels like he's playing a character, and I don't want to watch people play characters. I want to watch people be themselves.
Exactly.
So we get to the immunity challenge, which is also a reward challenge, and they reveal the new immunity idol necklace, which is ugly.
It looks like a elementary school project.
I was going to be a little bit nicer and say, like, when I worked for Fairvilla, we used to have parties for all of like the holidays and whatnot. And I would have to come up with like crafts for the people, the grown-ups at these parties to do. And it felt like a craft that I would make the people at a Fairvilla party do. It's awful. Like, they need art directors to be better at their jobs or pay them more. Well, they probably definitely need to pay them more, but come on.
They've had so many better designs of necklaces and what they're made of, what they look like. This one just looked like, here's a pile of feathers from Dollar Tree, just glue them onto this plastic round thing.
Yeah. I did
Terrible.
not like it. It's boring.
So the lead up to the challenge, okay, number 1, draw rocks. 2 teams,
Yes.
2 winners, 1 immune per team. There's going to be 2 tribals, 2 vote outs, 1 non-jury, 1 jury, and tacos.
Yes.
What can you make it any more confusing?
Oh, I'm sure if you asked them to, they would. But like, if the challenge isn't confusing, like all of the stuff surrounding the challenge is confusing. Like, I wish they would just make things a little bit more straightforward, just like once in a while. I would much rather have 2 straightforward, separate challenges than one convoluted piece of shit like that.
Yeah, because it was like, oh, and by the way, and also, and on top of that, here we have, and don't forget this.
It's like someone told them the seasons were getting boring, and they were like, well, let's just keep throwing stuff at it.
Inappropriate.
We don't like it.
So I did think it was funny that during our live chat.
Yes, in case any listeners wondered, we do text live to each other while we were watching the episodes also.
the two people that we mentioned were the two that ended up being immune. So
Yeah, it was that was really funny. And it just shows how much we have actually studied the game.
and
And
Dee
we
was
were
proud of her.
wondering, sorry?
Dee was proud of her big old toes.
Yes, I was going to say, we were wondering if Dee's toes would make a difference, and they 100% did. And I think they will in future balance related challenges too.
Oh, well, what do you think? It's like a tripod? Come on.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can balance a lot more on one big toe than a small big toe. I don't know. I guess I'm thinking about it in ballet terms. Like, I think the big toe would be helpful in point shoes, and that doesn't make any sense in the jungle. And I did note at the immunity challenge how much more elaborate the sets are for a simple setup like that in the United States Survivor versus Australian Survivor. Like, the Australian Survivor really lets the nature breathe around the sets, and I feel like the American version just like clears it out and builds this gigantic sign that doesn't really need to be that gigantic and overdoes it a
Exactly.
little bit.
Exactly. Completely overdone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the pole challenge, which is basically
Ugh.
totem pole style, you know, you hang up there like a monkey and let's see who comes down last,
They
basically.
should just grease it and get it over with.
Well, one of the questions was whether, you know, how do they get up there, first of all, which of course it's a ladder,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then during the countdown of the 3, 2, 1, go ahead and start, maybe some people started sliding already. So when Jeff is saying, oh, some people started lower down because they're afraid of heights. No, they probably all started up there. And by the
Yeah.
time you jerks got to the point where you said, here we go, everybody's already down the pole. Because who was it? Emily was down first
Yeah.
within seconds.
Yeah. And I wonder, do they have like 11 or 12 different ladders, or do they have to get up one by one?
I don't know.
If they have to have one for everybody, or else it wouldn't really be fair.
I agree.
So I'm going to pretend that they're fair, even though they're probably not 100% fair.
So by the time they get back from the challenge,
Yes.
freaking out. Julie needs to shut up.
She does like,
She's screeching so in such a paranoid way. It's like, dude, nobody's
yeah.
looking at you. Shut your mouth and they won't look at you.
Oh, I also did want to mention before we get back to camp that when Dee won her immunity necklace and she gave her little speech after Jeff asked what she was thinking about, it made me cry a little bit. It was really sweet and felt very authentic and genuine.
Okay, I'll agree with you there, but I think it was a little bit over the top,
Mm-hmm.
and she shouldn't. It almost felt like a jury plea. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, I can see that. Yeah.
So I was thinking, don't pull that card right now.
Yeah. Might be a little bit early.
Yeah, now's not the time to say my family and blah 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 when everybody.
Especially after she just outed herself as kind of a challenge threat already.
Exactly.
Because she looked pretty steady up there like the whole time.
She did, and I think like from the Australian versions that we've seen, a lot of this is mind over matter. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
it is in a challenge like that because you look at Drew. You know, Drew was solid as a rock
Yep.
until Jeff kept taunting everybody,
Oh,
and I
that
think he
was
got, yeah.
that was something that Barb mentioned on Tuesday, was the different ways that Jonathan like supports the players versus the ways that Jeff does. Like, one seems very nice and like from a place of like, oh, I want to see you succeed. And Jeff feels like, oh, you're failing. You're failing.
Right.
But
Exactly.
I guess that just says a lot about one or the other society.
Yeah, it's completely culture related, but I think that Drew could have hung in there, and something just got in his head, and because he didn't slide all the way down.
No. No, he seemed very solid. I thought he had it for a while there.
Right.
But then Kelly won, and like she's a good player and all, but I don't get like threat vibes from her. She just feels like a player.
Right, but she is thinking because um she still got a lot of confessionals,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she did.
especially when it came to talking about Bruce.
Yeah, she probably had the second most Bruce related confessionals this episode.
Right.
Behind Katura, of course. And another thing that I like about Dee is she doesn't seem confident like going into challenges and stuff necessarily, but she seems really confident in her game and in the moves that she wants to play. Like she doesn't really waffle around. She's like, this is what I want to do. This is what how I'm gonna do it. And then when she does it, she's like, I did it. This is how I did it.
And that's the frustrating thing about the edit, is because they're showing all of these people going, I don't know, what do you want to do? But if you look at Australian Survivor, they're showing confident people making confident statements, whether it works or not.
Mm-hmm.
At least they're playing the game. So the new era of Survivor in America, you've seen these people like Gabler, like uh Erica, all these different players, and they're like, oh, they just stood by the wayside, but they were making moves and that we didn't see, that they then explained later that made sense to everybody. I'm like, what the, really?
Yeah. I honestly feel like, especially in like Gabler's season, the editors really could have presented it a little bit differently because it wasn't a fun season to watch. It wasn't fun from like even a storytelling perspective. It was just a frustrating season.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Once he got up there and said, this is what I did, and I poked my head up when I needed to, and blah blah blah, and there's the whole jury going, yeah, I agree. And I'm like, what? No. So then at some point we get this fast forward edit.
I hated that.
It was terrible. It was like a fever dream. It was like,
It
who?
was like I was watching an episode of Flash. It was
It,
unnecessary.
it was completely unnecessary. And the, I don't understand what they thought they were trying to communicate that the players themselves weren't saying.
Yeah, I felt like there were a couple moments where the editors just was like, "Oh, I'm going to try this thing," because there was this one weird musical moment when they were walking up to tribal council and like the music was weird and then they kept editing the people walking in weird and it was like they were trying to do something cool just for doing something cool's sake without any purpose or reason for it aside from just being cool.
No. Awful.
We don't like it.
Thumbs down. So at one point, a couple of the players, Sifu's vote on the jury would be unpredictable.
Wait, repeat yourself again because you broke up for a second there.
At one point, the players were saying that they wanted Bruce out because eventually Sifu's vote on the jury would be unpredictable.
Mm-hmm. And I can see that, but also Bruce's vote on the jury, I feel is unpredictable. Like maybe even more so than Sifu.
So were you surprised by either of the outs?
No, but I was disappointed by Caleb's. Like, I
Yeah.
felt like it was inevitable, but then there was at one point when they were like in the water talking about who they were going to vote out, and someone was like, "Well, doesn't it always work out when somebody has a lot of votes against them in one tribal council and escapes it that they don't get voted out the next one? There's a new target. Let's make sure that we hit the target that we wanted to." And I thought about them why they would include that, and I figured it was because they did indeed managed to get Caleb out. But I was really disappointed that Katura was the one that did it, but less disappointed than if it were
Oh,
Jake.
oh, it was 100% her. And between Jake and Caleb, the way they presented to her that Bruce had an idol was
Mm-hmm.
that's how Caleb got voted out, because
Yeah.
they they could have told her in such a way that didn't say, you've been kept at arm's length, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they could
They
have
could
just found out about it.
No, well, they could have
With
told her in such a way that said, "Hey, by the way, we didn't mean to do that. We were trying to protect you from X, Y, and Z."
mm-hmm.
Something, because it
Yeah.
at the time it didn't make sense why they were keeping her out of that information in the first place.
Yeah, especially if they were like a team.
Yeah, because I even said when we were recapping that episode, why the hell is she on the outs? Because she hasn't done anything to anybody.
Yeah, the editors are really doing her wrong, I think. And I don't know how I feel about it. What do you think
Right.
about Emily being the very last Lulu left?
Um, it it kind of makes sense because she's a smart player. She's not overextending herself, but every time they edit her, she always looks like she's being blindsided by everything everybody is saying. She gets
Agree.
those she gets those wide eyes, like,
Mm-hmm.
what?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, her edit, I thought she might have a little bit of a winners thing going on, but I don't think so much anymore. I did make a note down during tribal council that Jeff Probst is a dusty bag of chips, Ruffles probably, and on the other hand, Jonathan is like that snack that you really want and not just the one that you settle for. Like,
good
I think
lord.
Jonathan is a much better host.
Well, I made a note while I was watching a recap, and
Uh-huh.
this is something that's been on my mind for a while, and I don't know how to express it. I don't know if you watch the Survivor Know-It-Alls.
I do not.
Okay. Stephen Fishback from a
Okay.
previous season is on Survivor Know-It-Alls. Now, he has a mustache and a beard.
Okay.
Okay.
Does he look like a
Have you ever
villain? I feel like he would look like a villain like that.
No, have you ever seen somebody who rubs their mustache with their index finger and then smells their finger while they're
No.
talking to you and
No.
plays with? No, okay, I can't deal. He does this constantly. Uh, It's hard to describe if you don't know what I'm talking about. But anyways,
All right, so I have been wondering since you lost Caleb, who you're picking for the winner now?
um, I'm gonna have to go with D.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. I think she's a really smart player. I really like the way that she's playing. I really like her.
She seems very grounded,
Mm-hmm.
being smart without being flamboyant.
Yep, agree. Agree. Hard agree.
So
And
who's your
I think
pick?
It's Jake. It's still Jake. And it's not just
Ugh.
because of the edit. I just like him. He makes me smile every time he's on screen. I think that I'm onto something with my Caleb thing. I think that he's going to be the one that makes the move that gets D out. I wrote that down today, but I don't remember why I wrote it down now anymore. But I'm pretty sure that that's what's going to happen. And also, foot fetishes must love Survivor. Like, there's got to be message boards in the foot fetish communities about Survivor, right?
Why?
Well, because of all of the shots of feet all the time, like close-ups of feet constantly in the challenges at the beach, showing the bug bites, all of it. So many feet on this show.
Fascinating observation.
We have to remember what industry I worked in for 6 years. I guess I still work in it. 10 years? Oof, something like that. And so next week we have an auction, and I'm sure that they're not going to do a normal auction. There's going to be some sort of twist to it. And I wonder if it's similar to any of like the Australian Survivor auction twists that we've seen in the past.
Well, one of the recaps that I was watching, somebody said that one of the many reasons why they got rid of the auction was at some point on some season, one of the people turned around and said, "Hey, nobody bid on anything until we get to the advantage," or whatever the statement was. And
Mm-hmm.
Jeff actually stopped everything and said, "Don't do that. Everybody needs to contribute."
I feel like they could easily make a rule that said like if an item isn't bid on, then the auction ends. Like if I put up an item for auction and it doesn't get any bids, the auction is over. So you have to
Yeah.
bid until there's no more items left. Like they would have to do something like that.
Yeah, it's like I understand the point of everybody trying to be strategic about it.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think I know what it was. He was going to cover everything with a dome instead of everybody being able to see it was all food. Because nobody was going to be bidding on food. They only wanted the advantage.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited to see what they do with it.
There will be a twist, you know that.
Oh yeah. I'm not looking forward to a twist for twist's sake though, because I feel like that's all the twists are for. End of story. I don't remember what else was in the preview. Was it like Jake being godfathery? Am I remembering that right?
I don't pay as much attention to the previews because they're so misleading.
Mm-hmm. I feel like the previews are a good indicator of who's not going to go home.
Exactly.
So I like to watch them for that reason alone. But I'm excited. It's a fine season, but watching it like we are while we're watching a season of Australian Survivor at the same time, it's really apparent which one is better. Just the way that the Australian seasons allow their players to have space to breathe. Like when Barb and I were watching on Tuesday, one of the things I was saying was that I like that, like, their one-on-one challenges, the head-to-head challenges give you a chance to know each player better. The way they gave you the family stuff in episode 3, you get to know the players a little bit personally better. So by the time you get to the end or even the merge, you're like invested in the actual people and not just, a season of Survivor or whatever.
Exactly, because for the most part, the beginning parts of the season, you don't know anybody and you don't care about them.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think we did the thing. Do you think we did the thing?
I think we did the thing.
Okay. I have been Jackie.
I've been Molly.
Stay tuned.